sometimes I think that the definition of cloud native is coined by you, Sam. So what they mean is not necessarily what you mean.
If we're talking in that terminology, I think we may have to put this in the fake cloud bucket, but I'm not sure. And I only base that off of the fact that if this was originally developed in the 70s, they have certainly built onto that industry.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WBS Podcast. I'm Sam Gupta, your host and principal consultant at the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm Elevate IQ. What sets apart a WMS system designed for the European market from its US counterpart? Are the distinctions as pronounced as those in a TMS system due to variations in regulatory reporting and compliance? Moreover, does the pricing strategy significantly impact the total cost of ownership? Some operate on a transaction-based model akin to consumption-based pricing, while others consider devices. This latter approach proves beneficial for companies facing seasonal fluctuations, necessitating ad hoc WMS access for additional workers. Considering these factors, where does SnapFulfill stand in terms of capabilities, and how does it measure up against other warehouse management solutions and supply chain suites available in the market? In today's episode, we invited a panel of industry experts for a live discussion on LinkedIn to conduct an independent review of SnapFulfil's capabilities. We covered many grounds, including their origin as an European solution and why that matters for a WMS solution. Finally, we compared their capabilities with other supply chain solutions and how the WMS needs of a DTC brands differ substantially from a 3PL. With that, let's get to the conversation. Hello everyone, welcome to today's show. And if you are joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We pick one vendor or the solution that we review independently. And for today, we have a solution called SnapFulfil. And I think Andy or Dave, after this one, after doing like 1,000 reviews, we are going to run out of options. I don't know what to review now, but we are going to have a lot of fun discussing this one. We are going to start with everybody's intros first. So I'm going to start with my intro. Sam Gupta, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. On that note, I am going to move to Dave for his intro.
Thanks, Sam. Hey, everybody. My name is Dave Chrysler, and I own an operations consulting business, working with leaders in manufacturing, helping them to create and optimize their systems, and to come to you with more than 25 years of various operational leadership roles. So excited to be back on the stage with these two fine gentlemen. So thanks for having me, Sam.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Dave. Andy, can I ask you to introduce yourself next?
Thank you, Sam, and thank you for always inviting me. My name's Andy Pratico. I've been working with ERP software for manufacturers for all my life. And I also educate companies on how to uncover the truth before they purchase their ERP. And again, thank you so much, Sam. Looking forward to the session.
Okay, amazing. Thank you once again for being here, guys. And if you're in the audience and joining for the first time, make sure you guys post your questions and comments. We typically try to cover them during the show. If you run out of time, we'll make sure that you receive your answers. On that note, guys, I am going to start with the quick briefing. Dave, I don't know how many you have missed. I guess you missed probably a couple, and this is probably going to be the last WMS solution. I don't know if we have any more WMS solutions out there on the list that we can review. To be
It
completely
seems like there's new ones ever.
Hey,
The list is ever expanding.
somebody please create a WMS solution because we have to review. We are running out of options here. Okay, so SnapFulfill, obviously, this is a very, very, very interesting WMS solution. So we are going to review them in terms of how they sort of differ from the other supply chain solutions that we have reviewed so far. And we have reviewed a lot of WMS, TMS solutions. And these guys are definitely going to be slightly more on the mid-market side. So we are going to dig deeper into that. One of the things that you are going to notice overall in these guys' presentation, obviously, when you say mid-market, they are going to be present in ecosystems such as NetSuite. And I believe SnapFulfill, they do a lot of business in the NetSuite ecosystem. We have found them doing business in Oracle, Sage. Some of the mentions are there in their case studies, marketing material. They started more in the European geography, and Europe and US differ a lot in general. Even from the WMS perspective, even though some people might feel, if warehouses could be different in different geography, but when you look at the compliance requirements, the way businesses operate, there could be layers in that as well. So we are going to touch a little bit into that in terms of how they differ. But for the most part, these guys started in the Europe market. Now they are also in the US, North American market. So that's pretty much it from the briefing perspective. I'll start on the slides unless you guys have any other experiences with these guys or comments that we might want to hit on.
Nope.
Okay, perfect. So let's start. So this is the commentary. Again, we always like to sort of discuss different ecosystems, where they are hanging out, what are their integration points, because that typically dictates which markets they are going to be present in, and that is going to define sort of their size. So if you're evaluating any of these systems, that could be a great way of looking at where they are hanging out. So here, some of the commentary, and again, these things are either coming from their press releases or marketing materials, and we typically like to dig deeper into details. So here, the e-commerce company initially considered ERP systems with warehouse management as part of the solution after realizing the best option was using a third-party platform for the warehouse management portion. It shows NetSuite ERP product. I think this documentation is coming from one of their case studies. It then added a handful of third-party WMS vendors to the RFP process. So again, in the NetSuite ecosystem as well, you are going to find many different options. Obviously, even NetSuite has their own WMS, solution. If you ask them, they are going to say that is the world's best WMS solution. But then you are going to have some of the not so best solution as well in their ecosystem if you are trying to evaluate them. All of these guys are going to be part of that, and this RFP was for that, to explore all of their solutions that they had in this. So this is coming from the brand called Me Undies, and Andy, you are going to get a good laugh out of this, right? So this is a very interesting brand name, but I mean, they are very, very popular. I don't know whether you guys have heard about them or not. They are going to be in DTC space, so that's a validation that this was more of the DTC brand, and that says that this WMS is present there. And typically, when we have looked at many different WMS solutions, the WMS is going to be designed for sometimes 3PLs, sometimes for manufacturers, sometimes for distributors, right? And these three are very, 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 very different configurations in general. So in this particular case, this is the e-commerce brand. So that's a validation that they are present in this space. So company in SnapFulfill are cloud-based, and these guys are cloud-based. Their claim is that they were in the cloud before anybody else was. In general, the WMS space is very behind in cloud. There are only very few solutions that are cloud native at this point of time, and these guys seem to be, at least their claims are that they are cloud based and cloud native. Go ahead, Andy.
So they're claiming that they're the first WMS system in the cloud, or are they claiming they're the first business software?
Where are you reading that? Again, remind me. I saw that comment somewhere.
Yeah, I'm just repeating what you said. I didn't. It was in the previous.
No. Yeah, so their claim is that, I mean, we are going to read that carefully in terms of what they are claiming. I think it is in
Right.
one of the slides. Okay, so their claim is that they were the first one to go on to the cloud. That also means that they were kind of legacy vendor, because by this time, the companies that were on cloud 20 years back, their technology is almost outdated at this point of time, to be completely.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, but I mean, based on their screens, etc., I mean, it does not seem to be as modern as, let's say, if you are going to look at Mercury Gate, right? I mean, that's probably going to be, Mercury Gate is probably a TMS, right? Which is the WMS solution that we have reviewed in the mid market.
Well, there was a bunch of them.
High Jump is obviously one.
High Jump is
The go-to cloud solution. There was another one that I'm missing, the Logiva, right? Logiva WMS.
Yes.
They are also WMS. So they are also slightly more cloud native, I would say. So they would be the competitors for these guys for the most part, since they are also in the mid-market space. But obviously, Logiva is going to have far more implementation in the US. High Jump was literally go-to solution in the mid-market. In the WMS space, a lot of NetSuite customers are actually on High Jump. A lot of Acumatica customers are on. We have seen
really?
that. Yeah, in a lot of other ecosystems as well. Yeah, that is probably one of the most popular, and obviously, these guys are popular as well. So here they are saying company in SnapFulfill, a cloud-based software as a service WMS developed by Synergy Logistics, headquartered in Europe for the most part. They have offices here in the US as well, but they were late here. First, they started in the Europe market. One of the layers that we are going to find in some of these slides, I don't know if we have documentation for that or not, but I want to hit on that right now, just in case, so that we don't miss it. Their pricing model is very different. I think they are doing it based on the devices. A lot of WMS vendors in the market, they have switched to more of the consumption-based price, and sometimes that could be very unpredictable. It could be very expensive as well. So these guys are slightly friendlier, from the pricing perspective, and I think we have the commentary of that as well as some of the case studies. So we'll go over that in just a moment, but let's keep rolling here with these comments. So here they are saying another advantage of the SaaS model is the subscription cost is tied to units as opposed to transactions. The transactions would be more consumption based, which sometimes is presented as fair pricing and the modern way of pricing, but that's also very unpredictable and it could be very expensive as well. So when you are going to be tied to units, one of the advantages that you are going to have, especially if you are going to have slightly seasonal business, and me and Days in my mind is probably going to be a seasonal business. In general, the demand is going to be spiking a lot in certain seasons. And when you have that, what happens is you have to hire temporary workers. And if you are going to be in a long-term contract with your ERP WMS, then when you hire these workers, okay, what do? Are you going to modify your terms and then get more users? If you do that, nobody is going to let you scale down. That becomes a very difficult and challenging process, when you are going to negotiate with them. So this whole temporary spike in capacity is a big deal. So when you tie this with units, that helps a lot. So that's a huge plus for any WMS solution. With almost twice the sales volume, so that's what they are saying in the November and December peak season. And in my mind, I think this is more of the luxury brand. And holiday times, obviously, this is going to spike up. With almost twice the sales volume, that is completely understandable. The SnapFulfill SaaS model is flexible, allowing me and Dees to add users during the crunch. Okay, some more commentary here. So we have tried to dig into their integrations where they are really integrated. So the only ERP that is listed on their website is NetSuite. So maybe they are sort of the go-to NetSuite partner. That's where maybe their majority of the customers are there, but we have seen some instances where they have done some work in the Sage ecosystem in Oracle ecosystem as well. So for the most part, in my mind, based on these 2 or 3 ecosystem, they are going to be very well present into that distribution DTC e-commerce centric space. That's where Sage likes to play, even your NetSuite likes to play. So there's a little bit of trend there. Now, overall, they are integrated with a lot of different iPaaS vendors. All of these are iPaaS vendors. You have Blue Moon, you have Celigo, you have Jitterbit. Celigo is like the go-to default iPaaS tool for NetSuite. They are very, very, very highly correlated. In fact, there is some investment alignment. I don't know who sits on whose board, but there is some alignment there at the executive level. Either NetSuite team is there on their board or something like that. Okay, do your research. There's definitely very, very, very tight alignment between Celigo as well as NetSuite. Jitterbit likes to play in a lot in retail e-commerce space. That's why they are here. Now,
We've mentioned them very often during a lot of our sessions.
Jitterbit?
Yep.
So Jitterbit was a slightly more legacy vendor, to be completely honest. I mean, from the iPaaS perspective, they were very, very well penetrated in the on-prem world. I don't know how well they are doing in the cloud native world. I mean, Boomi is very cloud native now. Your Celigo is very cloud native. MuleSoft is doing really good. So Jitterbit is probably going to be the choice too, I would say. But they are very well penetrated in that retail commerce space for sure. Then here we have some comments coming on Gartner, I guess. So this is the validation that in 2016 there was a comment from Gartner that representative vendor in Gartner's first market guide for European warehouse management systems. So they had a lot of market share, I guess, in 2016 in Europe. That's why they were ranked there. I have not seen any evidence of them ranking in North American market. So they are definitely very strong in the European market. Okay, here SnapFulfill is available in 3 editions, Starter, Pro, and Enterprise, providing a cradle-to-grave WMS solution, which is very interesting term that I have not heard in the WMS space, but they are using it. I remember I don't know whether it was Logiva. I think it was Logiva. They were trying to compare these 3, buckets of WMS, WCS, as well as WES. That's how typically WMS market is positioned. But cradle to grave is the first time I have seen anybody using that term in this space. SnapFulfill Enterprise is the most sophisticated version of the system designed for the largest and most complex warehousing operation. I would call them out on this one. I don't know if this is going to be the most complex. They are definitely more in the mid-market space.
I think they're talking about the 3 products they offer. It is the most complex.
Right, but I don't know if they have a lot of customers, in the enterprise space comparable to Manhattan.
Understood, but I think what they're saying is that with their 3 products, the enterprise system will have the largest and complex warehousing operation.
I completely agree.
They're not saying that they target tier 1.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Agree with you.
It's just relative.
Yep, I agree. Okay. So here, established in 1970s, Synergy entered in the US market in 2010, which now accounts for almost 50% of the company's total revenue. So their claim is that they have 50% market in the US as well, which is interesting. They go ahead.
Pretty impressive growth if you think about it, comparatively speaking.
Yeah. I mean, but that's probably believable. And we don't have the date for this particular article, so it's very hard to comment. How fast that growth was.
But you know what the revenue is? Is that advertised?
I did not see that.
So 50% is, again, it's a relative statement.
But they are definitely decent size.
They are. Okay.
Yeah, they are definitely. They are not like one install vendor that I can guarantee.
Okay, good.
So SnapFulfill is a tier 1 cloud warehouse management system which drives efficient warehousing and fulfillment operations for SMBs to multinational companies, spanning industries including B2C, B2B retail, direct sales, 3PL, manufacturing, F&B, and electronics. So there are definitely a lot more in B2C, B2B retail, commerce, 3PL. I think that those are the logos that I have personally seen with these. Entered in the US market in 2010 and has 50% of the company's total revenue coming from the US. Yeah, tier one is subjective term. So read between the lines. I don't know what is tier one, I guess, whether you are looking at the comprehensiveness of the solution. This is not the enterprise grade solution, that is for sure. Okay, so this is their screen, one of the screenshots, I guess. Now, if you pay attention, I mean, they might be cloud native based on the UI layout. It looks very, very, very similar to how Infor is going to look or how any other legacy vendors are going to look. So it does not seem that they are going to be on cloud native technologies, but even though they are claiming that they are probably cloud native, so either they don't have really good UX people, who can design.
Sometimes I think that the definition of cloud native is coined by you, Sam. So what they mean is not necessarily what you mean.
Well, if we're talking in that terminology, I think we may have to put this in the fake cloud bucket, but I'm not sure. And I only base that off of the fact that if this was originally developed in the 70s, they have certainly built onto that infrastructure. So, but it's hard to say just from these screens to understand what the integration and exactly how native it is versus building a nice UI on top of existing on-prem functionality.
Andy, just for your knowledge, I feel completely comfortable right now in putting all of my money in that comment. I have no hesitation there.
Well, I mean, just looking at this screen, it's not that it looks bad, but it doesn't go hand in hand with their comment that they were the first, whatever that means, cloud native system.
I'm going to go with Dave's assessment. I think he's spot on. That when you have legacy technology, to be completely honest, number one, it's very hard to create that cloud native experience, and I don't think they have that, even though they might be claiming that. So it's definitely not cloud native. Yes, fake cloud.
Fake cloud. Who knows?
Now the second screen looks slightly interesting, obviously, now this could be cloud native. I mean, based on the way it is laid out, to be completely honest, it's not as bad based on and again, I'm going with the elements that they are using, the development pattern. You have hamburger, but nowadays even legacy vendors are using hamburger. So it's very hard to spot, how cloud native they are. But the second one looks slightly better in my mind. It's definitely not as bad.
I think on that point too, and it's not something we've talked about, I feel like in a while, but I really do feel like the vendors would do more folks, do a better service from the standpoint of helping people understand what those differences are, because from a marketing aspect, lots of people are interested and excited in the cloud native experience. That said, there are also people, especially in larger organizations, that shy away from that from a pure security standpoint and control standpoint. But where I'm really going with that is, I think if these vendors would help people understand what we've talked about and unpacked in terms of what functionality exists with the on-prem systems, why there are challenges with replicating that functionality in the cloud due to pure computing power and access and all these other pieces, I do think it would help people better understand and make a more informed decision on what is appropriate and why, given their scenario, given their business, given their process flows, versus hiding all of that under this umbrella of, we're cloud native, and it being more of a marketing play than anything. Because I think there's real value in the execution and what's been developed for on-prem systems for all of these years. There's so much development dollars and mind power that's been put behind that. Why are we shying away from that just to get people excited about the cloud?
Yeah, and my comment to that is going to be, I mean, what are vendors supposed to do? That is not how sales is supposed to work, I guess. You are not supposed to tell I'm fake right now.
There I go being counterintuitive.
Well, the
I'm off
reality
the
is,
rails today. First time back in a while. And, you let me go wild over here.
in the whole ERP or software industry, there really isn't a dictionary of definition. I mean, what one vendor can claim by description or by title or by brand,
Yeah,
another vendor can claim the exact same thing,
yeah.
but mean something totally different, or call it something different and mean the same thing. So, native cloud. I mean, I still go. I'm gonna say you coined that phrase, Sam.
Yeah, and I would not be shocked, Andy, if somebody started selling fake, because even fake is
Or
cool now.
pushing it. You're saying
Everybody's talking about fake.
fake cloud. This is fake cloud.
This is fake
We're
cloud.
gonna have to offer an
Approved
authentication.
by Sam Gupta, fake cloud.
Sam Gupta. Let's put a little quote on here on the screen.
Okay, guys, let's keep rolling here. Okay, so we have seen some very interesting, terminology used here. For example, stage marshaled. I don't think we have seen these terms before. But in a lot of ways, when you get into the savvy warehouse operations, that's where you are going to find these terms. So that's very interesting that they have deep capabilities in general that I don't think came across when we were reviewing either Lajiva or High Jump. So that's very interesting. But overall, I guess from the screen layout perspective, it looks very similar to Lajiva, High Jump. If I remember the screen layout, you have shipment, you have stages, you have task, progress, name, customer. Consignment is very interesting. Consignment, I don't know if you have seen that. That's slightly more mature capability. They have consignment. That's definitely more on a higher side. Pig group is very interesting as well. Not everybody has that. The class is very interesting. Not everybody has that. Yeah.
The word marshal, it's a stage. Do you think that's a term used?
Dave, you have far more experience in operations than I do. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, first time for me, Andy, but I mean, I would take it to be some sort of, quarantine stage, whether that's, pre-pick, post-pick, something like that, some sort of a staging area, whether it's true quarantine or not, but that's typically what I've seen being utilized. Just not specifically that right? term, yeah.
You're guiding somebody, so maybe in this case it's guiding it to the quarantine location.
Yeah,
and to the quarantine location.
And I think we have some more commentary here, Andy. Probably in some more slides that we have. And number one, I mean, I have seen this term used before. So one suspicion is that either it is used a lot more in the Europe or there's a very advanced capability. For the most part, I have not seen in the North American context in general, but it's probably staging is what it is. Okay, so here, so they have some very interesting pieces of functionality that I don't think I have seen anywhere, and this gets very interesting. I think we had some comments when we were reviewing SAP. SAP had value-added services, and even WMS gets very complex when you look at the billing scenario. Okay, and when I say billing, this is going to be more relevant in the 3PL space when you are offering the value-added services. Okay, so either you are going to have the 3PL more from the warehouse perspective, or you are going to have 3PL, more from the logistics perspective. In both cases, companies use WMS as their ERP because they have to bill, they have to reconcile, they have to audit, they have to match. So that's a very, 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 very deep capability to be compressed. Okay, so that's why SAP had a lot of these scenarios, and even these guys have that. That could be the reason why they are claiming that they have the enterprise capabilities. I think you will find these only with Manhattan, which does very, very well in 3PL space, and 3PL and your the commerce retail, these two are completely different verticals from the warehouse management system perspective. Even manufacturing is very different. Manufacturing warehouse is very different. Your retail warehouse management system is not going to work in your manufacturing unless you are trying to shoehorn.
Which everyone does.
Yes, exactly. So here they are talking about cubic volume storage charged by product volume for storage, and they have coined a new term called stock tracking unit. And I don't know whether you guys have heard of STU before. So you have STU, you have non-STU controlled slots. Okay.
Have you heard that terminology before, Dave? Stock. I mean, I think I've heard of stock keeping unit before.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, I have. And back to your point, Sam, I do think it's interesting as I was reading through this slide. This whole entire section really reads 3PL versus versus retail business.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how they've positioned that because and for folks that are listening to this, I mean, you think about it, these call outs, this. Could you imagine, ordering something during the holiday season and getting charged based on how it was being stored in the warehouse?
Yeah,
it just kind of goes to highlight the major differences between business models.
Exactly, could not agree more. So there are many different layers. The only thing that we had seen with SAP was probably value-added services, and I don't know how deep they are in these capabilities. So generally, I mean, Manhattan is probably the go-to WMS system. They are the enterprise grade WMS system in general, and they would have all of these capabilities, which get very deep in terms of the slotting. Slotting itself is a very mature capability.
Yeah, that was all my recollection was from some of the other products that I was a part of the panel for. I don't remember any specific call outs for like the cubic volume storage, but the slotting and some of the other things I seem.
Yeah, I mean, slotting is again, that is all marketing verbiage. I guess everybody's going to use it, but how deep they are in those capabilities is where the real challenge is. Okay.
Just as for the audience, how would you define slotting, Sam?
So slotting is going to be, and I don't know. I mean, Dave, do you want to take that question, or do you want me to take first? I'll check because.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm happy to jump in.
Yeah, so the slotting is going to be the fixed area for the product. Meaning, what you are trying to do is, let's say you have the warehouse in general. If you don't use slotting, then you are not going to have the fixed bins per product. But in the case of slotting, what you are doing is, let's say you store iPhone. iPhone is stored at two different places. So you are affiliating this iPhone that the only thing you can store in this particular bin is going to be iPhone, right? That creates the discipline overall in the warehouse. It makes the planning much easier, just because you sort of know where you are storing as opposed to just randomly putting things wherever you like. So once you have that affiliation, then you can't, like, anybody cannot go and scan some random product and store there. It doesn't work that way, right? It will not let you. Jay, do you have anything to add there?
No, I think that's good. I mean, from my perspective, I kind of use the example of sublocations. So if you take a bin and rack location, the slotting is going to not only be associated to the products, but you're also going to have kind of sublocations within that. So it's the lowest level or the most detailed level, if you will, of location within the warehouse.
Yeah. All right. Andy, are we good?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So product surcharging, a particular useful function for oversized product charges and uses the stock storage, the STT types, which is a very unique term as well that we are coming across for the first time. The storage and occupancy charge for occupancy of an entire section, bay, or zone. Again, this is very 3PL service-centric workflow where you are renting out a bay or a zone inside your warehouse. So again, that's very 3PL-centric scenario. Even if it is just going to be a single location is occupied by the owner, users can also charge by stock keeping unit. So they have, and I don't know, Andy, when we were talking about a stock tracking unit, I heard you say that a stock keeping unit. these two are two different things.
No, I misspoke. Yeah.
That's completely okay. So here you have two different terms used, and so the STU seems to be used more in the slotting or the controlled zone scenarios. The STU, everybody knows what they are. So this is going to be SKU per slot. So you are basically creating that correlation affiliation of each SKU per slot to have that tight control, to have controlled environment. And sometimes, let's say if you are going into the controlled spaces, chemical, pharma, there you are going to have restrictions, restricted area, which is products you can store where. Okay, so for that, obviously your slotting is going to be far more meaningful. May not be as meaningful probably for me and Dee, but for the other businesses, definitely.
And Sam, we've got a comment. Session has jumped in with something specific to slotting in NetSuite. If you want to show that.
Yeah, so let's do the first one, I guess. We had one comment related to cloud. Thank you so much, by the way, Dave, for the reminder on the comments. So on the screen, ANDERSGREN, follow him, amazing guy. He is saying, what is cloud? It seems that the only cloud definition that all ERP vendors would agree on is, well, you don't have a server in your closet, leaving vast amount of different technologies as cloud. Basically, all of the internet is cloud. That's probably a very...
I would be okay with that definition.
Cloud is like ERP in my mind. The way cloud is used, it's all over the place. Cloud has many layers. This is just one of them. So great comment. The next one that Dave pointed out, and this is coming from Session Kumar Chawla, and he is talking about slotting NetSuite handles with defining primary bin item wise. So while placing or putting goods, it will suggest designated bins. Okay, so on here.
So it looks like it's just tied to the primary location within the warehouse.
Exactly. And that's what I meant to say when I was saying that you have that SKU and bin correlation. So yeah, you are right that it is going to be used in that placing and putting away, because the system would already know which SKUs to put in which particular location. So it used in multiple from the multiple perspective. Number one, obviously controlling in terms of which SKUs go where, but then the second is obviously going to be in deciding where to put or place those SKUs.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure exactly how NetSuite handles the second any potential secondary locations, or if it can. I'm assuming that it can, but I'm not familiar specifically with NetSuite to answer that.
Slotting is a very, very, very mature capability, to be completely honest. And I don't know if you are going to have all of the locations. If you are going to have very busy warehouse, in general, you would require a best of breed WMS system. And they are going to have far richer capabilities from the slotting perspective. So even if NetSuite has, I don't know if you're going to use it, unless you have very small warehouse. Okay, so great comment. I'll move to the next slide, I guess. And how much time we have? 6:14 already, so we can cover some reviews. So here, this is coming from 2019. This is a sizable company, $500 million to $1 billion when it's in consumer goods. So obviously, they are definitely present in that CPG, FMCG, retail commerce space. This is coming from IT Director of Global Logistics. So he or she is saying, great for startups in a small to mid-size one location warehouses. So that's their assessment, and that's probably my assessment as well. That this is not supposed to be your enterprise grade. It's supposed to be smaller, solution. They're excellent in sticking to the estimated cost and timeline for implementation. So that's a good thing. They are not really designated for larger scale operations, nor for multiple site implementations. Okay, so the second review is coming from VP of Operations in the US. This is a very small company, 11 to 50 employees. This is slightly old review, 5 years ago. Overall experience was good. Implementation plus training and go live was simple and easy. Ease of use, custom modifications made based on our subscription model. We use the software on a daily basis. It is pretty simple to use. Now they have a complaint that they were unable to print labels in bulk at once. And now, we have spoken about the batch capabilities. Typically, that's going to be in slightly mature systems. So sometimes, these systems are not able to offer that if they are going to be targeted for smaller operations. So that's one layer that you may want to analyze. And typically for warehouse, you are going to require a lot of batch operation. Printing labels in bulk is just a very simple batch operation. Typically, that is going to be, picking in bulk, putting away in bulk. All of the orders. That's where you have the real efficiencies. Okay, so the next comment is coming from Natalie, fulfillment manager in the US, 50 to 200 employees. This is coming from 3 years ago, so it's recent. Now, she is saying shipments failing into a marshaled status. So this is where that comment is coming from, guys, when we were discussing the marshaled status, when orders have been pushed to the test environment. Okay, shipments that error in the live environment go to the packed stage when all errors have previously gone to a marshaled state, which is very interesting commentary. So there is some data quality issue that is going on here. Now, I don't know whether this was during transition or there are some serious errors, with the system. But this is a very, very, very interesting comment. So if you are evaluating these guys, make sure you pay attention. Okay, so the next one is coming from 51 to 200 employees, a very mid-market, smaller, organization. This is coming from 2 months ago, director of fulfillment. Here they are saying for a 3PL application, it's good, less expensive product than some of the larger brands. For anyone running retail B2C fulfillment for a single brand or attempting to support functionality outside of basic warehousing, I would think he meant it should be carefully considered before selection. Now, this is a very interesting comment because our understanding was that they are really into that B2C retail space, but somehow this guy is not happy about it. They are feeling that it is more of 3PL centric warehouse management system. It is very interesting comment. It's geared towards the best suited for 3PL operation. Many of the issues described in this review won't be problems for a 3PL operation, but will be for a fulfillment or a retailer. And by the way, this is a very small retailer. So if they are struggling, interesting.
Well, he says it's easy to use, though.
Easy to use is a very subjective term. I don't know what it means, to be completely honest.
yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So here he is complaining that implementation is exceptionally poor. Our initial discussions were not met. Have taken over a year post-implementation to work through. The training was disorganized and ineffective, with most of the base functionality not being completed before training took place. Be aware of your requirements and insist on thorough testing. So this seems to be a really failed implementation. Now, there could be a lot of layers to it. Number one, obviously, the customer is very uninformed here. If they had too many requirements that they were trying to implement, you are buying a package software, so you should have done your due diligence whether this was the right fit or not. If you are implementing so many, you are definitely going to have issues. And then seems like, and I don't know why these guys committed if this is going to be so complex for them. So something is going on which is really off in this particular review. I don't know if you guys have any comments here. Keep rolling. Go ahead, Dave. You have?
No, just agreeing with your analysis on it. It seems to be quite a bit of conflicting information in here, and hard to decipher what's really going on. So interesting, though, because seemingly on the surface this would be a perfect fit. The only thing potentially I could see just on the surface would be, back to the the pricing model in terms of my guess is that this is a business that would have significantly more SKUs than like the case study of the underwear brand, but that alone shouldn't be an issue to to highlight some of what they're calling out as a problem.
Yeah.
But apparently, this person must have some sort of, experience from a 3PL standpoint, because, seemingly how otherwise would he know that this would be a good fit for a 3PL, but not a good fit for themselves as, a small e-com brand.
Yeah, I agree with your analysis, Dave. Yeah, thank you so much for that. So let's keep rolling if you don't have any other comments there. So here, this is coming from, again, 500 to 1,000 employees. This is also 2 years ago, so very mid-market centric company. Now, he is saying, and again, 2 years ago, right? We should not have as many challenges, but there appears to be bugs that occur and system freezes or requires a reboot to move forward. Okay, and they have compared it with 3PL Warehouse Manager as well as NetSuite. Now, this is not cool. I don't know what's going on here. Why would you have bugs in a commercial system? Sure, once in a while it might be okay, but like freezing and rebooting?
They must be rebooting those virtual servers, since this is a cloud native environment.
By the way, this is also installed on devices, right? And sometimes those devices could be really crappy, so that could be a problem as well.
Perhaps.
But it's very interesting comment. Okay, so now this is coming from 5 years ago. There are a lot of limitations to the software. Every time that we want something changed is a massive ordeal. Getting customer service to figure out how to do it. Most of the time, I have to tell them exactly what is needed, and that's what you are supposed to tell them, because they are not supposed to know. Okay, customer service folks have 2 years of experience in the industry. They follow your orders, so better know. Or hire somebody who really knows. Again, customer support is not supposed to be answering those questions. That's not their job. They put the work on us instead of figuring out these things out for us. That's not how customer support is supposed to work. They are pretty expensive, and I would like customer service to be able to be more knowledgeable. It's not going to happen. Okay, hire consultants. That's what you need, because you have a gap there. Every time I call, I often get a new person on our account, and it's very frustrating. And naturally, it's going to be frustrating, but that's the experience that you are going to get with everybody. That's how customer support is supposed to. Okay, if you guys don't have anything else, that's it, I guess, for this review. I'll take any comments.
Fire away there, Andy.
I was just going to say that it's interesting that the comments from the customers were from varying different size companies, right from incredibly small to incredibly large, and none of them were overly flattering.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, I agree with that, Andy. I mean, it's interesting because, again, seemingly you would think that there would be a bit more positivity around, the functionality of it, the user takeaways, but didn't seem to be that way. Certainly seems to have some good functionality, but, again, just basing it off of that one slide a few slides back, Sam, it is interesting to see how much functionality they have in the 3PL, but they're not really talking about that anywhere else from a marketing standpoint, or at least that I saw. So, it does align with that one, particular user review, but some of that functionality would be, very useful in that space. So, I wonder if that
Dave,
either...
Let's go back to which one are you referring to?
It was slide number 7, the one with the storage and shipping, just before the
this one?
Here.
This one? Yeah.
It's interesting because I just wonder what the genesis of kind of the product development was. If they started in 3PL and then have gone into the more DTC and retailer side, or if it was vice versa. Only because that's a lot of functionality. So I guess I'm kind of left with, who is this really the best suited for, and is it a 3PL, that it's better suited for than some of the, lower mid-market DTC brands or, smaller retailers.
Well, the other side of the coin is that, there was a couple of comments about poor support or poor implementation. Now, that's easy for these people to put on the internet. They're complaining about the software vendor, but commonly a poor implementation is a lot to do with the customer itself. And not only that, they say that whenever you're being successful with any of these software systems, 20% of it is a result of the functionality. 80% is a result of the partner you're working with and the business process re-engineering and then change management and all that stuff. And I'm just wondering if some of those complaints were from companies that tried to save money by not purchasing the right amount of training.
Yeah, I completely agree, Andy. I mean, we can keep blaming software vendors, but that's not always the case. Yeah, 90% of the cases because customers just didn't understand, how software implementation is supposed to work. They didn't have.
Or they tried to save money.
Exactly.
And guess what? It only costs you money by doing it.
Exactly. So great comments, guys. I'm going to provide just one color there, Dave, on your commentary. In general, the way WMS space is laid out, most of them, especially the ones that are going to be designed for retail-centric organizations, they are definitely going to have 3PL functionality. Okay, I don't know whether you have seen the trend or not. Manhattan, big on 3PL. SAP, big on 3PL. They are very focused on your distribution, retail. Texas, we saw a lot of 3PL functionality, unless it is going to be pure vanilla DTC operation, like Logiva, which is very commerce-centric WMS, then you are not going to find. But for the most part, and the reason for that is because most of the retailers, distributors, they are trying to figure out, how to incorporate 3PL business model, how to rent out their excess capacity, right? That's why, they have this functionality. So that's very common to have in most WMS systems.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was more curious on, kind of what the timeline of that was, if that has come later, kind of in anticipation to your point. And it makes total sense, right? It gets back to what we talk about quite often, though, and Andy just referenced, understanding what business you're really in, what business do you want to be in? That's the other side of that, and then obviously understanding the process flow and picking a tool that helps you do that the most efficiently and effective, that it can be. So yeah, makes total sense. I think you're gonna, we are going to continue to see that, consolidation in the market and that excess capacity being utilized as best as possible. So yeah, more to come on that. I'm sure it's coming to a city near you.
Exactly.
Operator standing by.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, more comments, guys. 629.
No, we're good. Thank you, Sam.
Yep. Thanks.
Of course, guys. Thank you so much. So that's a wrap. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We are going to come back with another vendor or the solution. On that note, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show, for sharing their knowledge and journey. I always pick up learnings from our guests, and hopefully you learned something new today. If you want to learn more about Dave Chrysler, head over to thechrysler.club. thechrysler.club. If you want to learn more about Andy Pratico, head over to esoft.com. It's esoft.com. Links and more information will also be available in the show notes. Also, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word among folks with similar backgrounds. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please review and rate us on your favorite podcasting platform or DM me on any social channels. I'll try my best to respond personally and make sure you get help. Thank you, and I hope to get you on the next episode of the WBS Podcast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.